What is up, my friends? Happy Friday to you all. It is, as always, a pleasure to be here with you. Loads to go through. The game's coming thick and fast. No sooner have we played Atalanta than we go to London to take on Fulham. It's a 4:30 p.m. kickoff on Sunday, which means, of course, we will be live from 3:30. And you're officially weekend material now. Your weekend has officially started. It is... Yeah, look, it's good to see you guys in. I hope that you're in good form. I know yesterday was a difficult one once again to take, but we got to process it, right? We got to figure out where we're at. And do you know what annoys me most, if I'm being honest with you, about yesterday's disappointment was we've been robbed of 3 more games. 3 more games with Kloppo, 3 more games this season, 3 more games that we could have enjoyed. That's the overriding feeling for me. Look, we won last night. I guess you can take a positive from that. We kept a clean sheet, but ultimately, it just felt like there was an opportunity missed there again. Nothing we can do about it, though. It is what it is. We know we've 6 games left, and all we can do is try to win each one of them. To even have a chance, we need 6 out of 6 wins. We haven't done that this season, said the hopeful Star Wars guy. Look, I can't push back, mate. You know, you're right. To have a chance, we have to go perfect at this point. I would have preferred if we could have started this quest for perfection a week ago. It's a tough one sitting here with the week that we've had, knowing that even if we just had beaten Palace, we would have been top of the Premier League right now, and it would have been in their own hands. So yeah, it's been quite a few disappointments. Want to say thank you to JC Galvanil, as always, absolute legend. Not only is he part of the Shrimp Gang, but he's also gifted 20 Anfield Agenda memberships. Really, really kind of you, JC. Thank you, mate. Right, Craig, have you heard that Amorim agent is buying an apartment in Liverpool? I haven't heard it directly, but I did hear it from somebody in the chat. I did read it from somebody in the chat, mate. Which is a bit at odds, because on one minute we'll say Amorim's agent is looking at the apartments in Liverpool, and then I read last night as well, to follow on from somebody else in the chat, saying that Alisson has put his house up for sale for £4.5 million. And I have no idea what that means. Does that mean Alisson's wanting to move to a bigger, better house? Or I don't know. But yeah, that's where we're at. So, what's the latest on Amorim? Look, I'm happy to go through all of this stuff here, just to show you how quickly stuff can move in world football, by the way. Remember, just 2-3 days ago, we were hearing loads of stuff coming out of Bayern and Florian Plettenberg again, speaking about Julian Nagelsmann closing in on becoming the next Bayern coach, only for today, Julian Nagelsmann signed a new contract to stay on as Germany national team boss. Fabrizio Romano posted earlier to say, official, Julian Nagelsmann has signed a new deal as the German national team head coach until World Cup 2026. This is a decision of the heart. It's a great honour to be able to coach the national team. We can inspire the country, said Mr. Nagelsmann. So it just goes to show you things move quick in football world. Now, I'm not trying to scare anybody with tonight's title. If you're looking about the Amorim section of it, basically Sporting Lisbon president has said he hasn't given up on trying to convince Ruben Amorim to stay at the Lisbon club. No surprises there. If you had a manager that good, you'd be doing everything you could as well to try and make sure he stays. From our perspective, I just hope we get that positive news soon. I hope we get a breakthrough or confirmation that at least the negotiations between Amorim's agent and Liverpool have progressed. Until then, I guess we just all have to play the waiting game. And I don't know Amorim well enough to think that is he or isn't he going to stay at Lisbon. I don't know the answer to that question. I think Alonso shocked a lot of us by staying at Leverkusen, turning down the advances of Liverpool, the advances of Bayern Munich. So I don't know at this moment in time if Amorim will change, will stay, don't know, just have to wait and see. But I guess at this minute, it just adds to the nervousness, right, a little bit at the minute. But we've loads to get through on today's show. We'll be talking about the FA Cup as well and why the EFL clubs are unhappy with it. And you've probably seen the statement from the Emirates FA Cup account to basically say, we hear you, but we're not doing nothing differently. We've made our mind up, but we do hear you. So we'll talk about that as well. Marco said, I think he will leave. See, I think he will as well, Marco. And unlike Alonso, at least he's had a good stint at Lisbon. Alonso obviously is in there, a year and a half now. Just delivered them a Bundesliga title. Obviously progressed to the semi-finals of the Europa League. And they're still in the DFB Pokal as well. So it could be a remarkable season. Whereas Amorim, he's been at Sporting a little bit longer. He won a league title with them. Then it's been a couple more seasons. Now he's on for a double. So I think he probably will have achieved everything possible to achieve at Sporting. So yeah, from that perspective, I think it would make sense that because he's been there a bit longer, it's time to make that next step in his career. Can't stay long, off across the pond, said Mr. H and friend. Oh, enjoy. That's amazing, mate. I hope you've got a great trip ahead. Hope you get further through the process than I did recently. But look, honestly, man, enjoy. Have a great trip. Is Zidane still an option? He was never an option. I'm not saying he's not a good coach. Of course, Zidane's work with Real Madrid speaks for itself, but he was never an option for us. He was never in consideration. He was never on the list. He was never a manager that Liverpool looked to run the rule over. So yeah, from that one I can safely say, that won't be happening. What else we got in the chat? Gasperini, I don't know if he agreed to work abroad. He's a good coach, no denying that. You've seen he made changes at halftime yesterday, which just blunted us basically. And that was, the difference in that second half is that Gasperini made his changes. His team stepped up, performed, and we looked like we ran out of ideas. So look, I do agree that Gasperini's a very good coach, but I just get the feeling Liverpool are looking for somebody a bit younger, a bit more energetic. Whether right or wrong, just that seems to be the likelihood of what's happening. Wagwan, Craigie. How are we, Danielle? Always lovely to see you in, mate. Right, let's get to some more of the news. So, look, basically, I seen somebody say in the comment section, go easy tonight, Craig. And I get where you're coming from. I do get where you're coming from. And I don't want people to think I'm going to be in angry, ranty mode tonight about the situation with our manager. But what I would say is that Virgil van Dijk and Trent Alexander-Arnold and Jurgen Klopp, they just need to stop with the sound bites. We all want them to win the last 6 games. But it wasn't easy to take Jurgen Klopp saying, we'll give everything for these last 6 games. I expect no less. It shouldn't have to be said. But talk is cheap at this point. What we've had since the international break has been just abject failure. We've gone from a position where multiple trophies are possible to now a position where we need help. We need a bit of luck to win a league title. And it doesn't sit well with me. But I also understand and appreciate that there are people out there who will say, look, Craig, we probably didn't think we were going to be in a league title race this season. And if you had offered me this situation 6 or 7 months ago, I'd have taken it. And I fully respect where those people are coming from. But I think your circumstances change and your objectives change as the season goes on. And whether we thought it would happen or not, we are in a title race. But we could have been in a better position in the title race. Look at last weekend as a prime example. There's no reason we should not be beating a poor Crystal Palace team at Anfield at home. There isn't. There's no reason for it. So the players need to stop with the talking and more actions. We heard what they wanted to do for the manager. We heard that they wanted to give him the big send-off. We heard all of it and it was lovely to hear. But it hasn't been backed up. And it feels like since we've gotten a lot of the first teamers back, so Trent, Jota, Alisson, and some others from injury, we've regressed instead of going forward. So I guess the question that I wanted to put to people tonight is, do we need to start dropping players? Regardless of if they're better than others or not. If they're not performing right now, whether it be because of rhythm, because of fatigue, whatever it might be, we were picking up wins with the younger players, with the hungrier players. And since we started to get I won't call them stars back, but what we consider the first teamers back, we've fallen backwards. That's a difficult one to come to terms with. And I'm not going to single out any one person or individual because it's been a collective failure so far. But I don't know how we gone from a situation where we went to that Old Trafford FA Cup quarter-final full of optimism and lost a bit of a crazy game. And it was a crazy game, and it was one of those that you think, it's a cup tie, it's not great, these things can happen. Then we go into the international break and we've got those 2 weeks to kind of stew in our own anger or frustration, and then you want to put it right. So we come into the next week, we start off, win, then we go to Old Trafford. Another game where they frustrated us at Anfield once this season, they knocked us out of the FA Cup, and we go there and you're thinking, make a statement. This is where you put in that performance that you were talking about. This is where you put in that response. And again, we capitulated. we let a very average United team get another point, and that isn't good enough. And from then to here, it's just been a setback one after another. You know, Atalanta, for all their endeavour and efforts, we are a better team, but we didn't show it, and they fully deserve their place in the semi-final. To hear Klopp say we'll give it everything for these last 6 games, as I mentioned, it's good to hear, but it's a week too late. Where was everything last week against Crystal Palace? And can we please stop entrusting the same players who've been letting them down? It feels like Jurgen Klopp wants to take his stubbornness or his favouritism of certain players right through to the end of the season, regardless of their performances. So if we really do want to go and win these next 6 games and try and put the pressure on Manchester City, Klopp's going to have to change as well. He can't leave substitutions so late. He can't keep putting faith in players who may have rewarded him for that faith in the past, but simply aren't doing it now. And there I'm talking about Darwin Núñez, Mohamed Salah, Lucho to some extent. Canade, I think, has fallen off a little bit. There are lots of players who are living off reputations, and I think that Klopp needs to realise that if we really want to have a go at this, no more carrying passengers. Whoever's performing, put them in. Whoever's looking good in training, put them in. We haven't got any wiggle room for mistakes anymore. We simply don't. We have to go and resolve this. And look, I don't know if City will drop points or not, but I know I don't like having to wait for them to drop points. I know it's not great knowing that week last week against Palace could have left us in a whole different position. Imagine we were sitting here now as an example, and we didn't turn it around last night against Atalanta, and we were feeling a little bit down on ourselves. But we knew if we won the last 6 games, we were going to win the league title. We could have had that feeling if we just beat a really poor Crystal Palace team, but we didn't. And now, yes, we may go on top of the league table by the time Manchester City play next, but they still have those games in hand. And I said to you guys when City played Arsenal that I wanted Arsenal to beat City because I wanted City knocked out of the title race. I wanted City to concentrate on other things. It didn't happen, and now the inevitable seems to have happened, where ourselves and Arsenal are looking up at a Manchester City team who, even their own fans will admit, aren't in the best place at the moment themselves, but we're having to rely on others to do us favours. That's not how you win league titles. Conceding the first goal in 21 games this season is not how you win a league title. So we need to step up, and Klopp needs to stop being so frustrating and start picking players on form and not off history or reputation. And I think that's where I went with my team selection today. You know, you may have seen my predicted 11 for the game against Fulham at the weekend. If you haven't, I'll run through it really quickly. Alisson in goal, Trent at right back, Robbo at left back. I think Canade needs to be put to the bench, so Kwanzaa in alongside Van Dijk. In an ideal world, I'd love to give Van Dijk a rest. I'd love to rotate out Van Dijk and give him a breather because he played a lot of games. But we just don't have the personnel to really do that, in my opinion. So he's got to play. Into midfield, I went for Endo, McAllister and Harvey Elliott because I swear to God, if I see Jurgen Klopp picking Curtis Jones and Dominic Szoboszlai again, how am I supposed to believe that anything's going to change? Because they haven't been good enough. It doesn't really matter what the reason is, whether it's form, confidence, rhythm, doesn't matter. They aren't performing. They can't keep being rewarded. What message does that send to a Harvey Elliott on the bench, a Ryan Gravenberch on the bench, a Jayden Danns on the bench? If these guys just keep getting picked, they can go out and stink the gaff up and put in poor performance after poor performance, but it doesn't matter. They'll get picked. Why? That can't be the case. So my midfield, as I mentioned, was Endo, McAllister and Elliott. Up top, I changed completely. Diogo Jota on the right. On the left-hand side, I've gone for Cody Gakpo. And through the middle, why not play Jayden Danns? Because I tell you what, folks, I seen more from Jayden Danns in 10 or 11 minutes last night than I did from some of those other forwards. At least he was putting himself about. At least he was trying to do something. But we shouldn't have to look to kids to rescue us. And I guess that's where we can go back to the transfer window and ask, did FSG dig deep enough? I don't think squad depth has been the problem for us this season. I think it's just been a case of injuries. Yes, they've played a part, but also favouritism. Also a lack of options from Jurgen in regards to tactical fluency. A lack of decision making. How can you be outwitted by Gasperini doing the same thing twice? Because that's all it took yesterday, was him at half-time to get his team to go man-on-man, man-mark our players out of the game, and that was it. We were blunted. We were forced to just ping long balls forward and hope for the best, and it didn't work out. These aren't the actions of somebody who is at the very top of their game. I don't know if Jurgen Klopp or some of those players have checked out mentally. I've got no idea, and I've got no right to accuse them of it. But I tell you what, it doesn't half look like a shambles at the minute from the outside. So look, this is my introduction to tonight's stream. This is how I'm feeling about the situation. I don't think we can just keep looking to do the same things and hope for the best. We need to be proactive now, and that involves making changes. And why not look to the future? Why not look to the Harvey Elliots, the Gravenbergs, the Jaden Dans, the Bobby Clarks? Why not? What have we got to lose at this point? So, over to you guys now. Sorry about how long that was, but do let me know your thoughts. Are you concerned for Fulham? We always struggle, said Daniel. Yes, I am. But I would be nervous no matter who we play now. In a weird way though, Daniel, I actually think playing away from Anfield will play into our hands this time. Because Anfield hasn't been the fortress for various reasons in recent weeks. To lose back-to-back games there it's almost unthinkable in the Klopp era. So maybe going away from home will release some of the pressure. Maybe just having those travelling cop there with the boys will, I don't know, have a little bit less weight on their shoulders, and maybe that will get a performance out of them. But you are right, Fulham have been stern opposition. We've had some very hectic games with them, and our last head-to-heads, again, close game. So I am expecting to be difficult, yes. In most of the season and legacy-defining run-in, our most talismanic player, Salah, of the last decade is bang out of form. Sad but true. My hamster would have scored that chance last night. Look, he is out of form, but at least Jurgen Klopp did take him off. So that is at least somewhat positive in the sense that he could see what we were seeing. And you are right, Mohamed Salah has been incredible for the last 9 years or 8 years, whatever length of time he's been at the club. Actually, I think it's 7 years he's been at the club. But that's no good to us now. And we need players who are delivering now. And he quite simply isn't. Nor is Darwin, by the way. Not by a long shot. Alex Macklin, thank you for the super sticker, mate. There was a post from Alex Macklin as well. Craig, if we don't get Ruben, who else is there? Look, there's no shortage of options, Alex, but the difference between, I guess, an option and an option that we feel comfortable with are very different. I don't really have anybody after Amorim who I'd feel confident could come in and keep us challenging. I feel like I've said it all along, it was Alonso and it was Amorim for me, and after that it was a drop off to whomever. And we also have to remember that Bayern still need to figure out a manager at this point, so I don't know if they're going to start looking towards Amorim. I don't know if De Zerbi will be their next target. But as we said at the start of the stream, Julian Nagelsmann signed a new contract to stay on as German coach today, so it ain't going to be Julian Nagelsmann. Barry said, when Klopp's press is not working, it takes one misplaced pass and we always look like we concede. Salah cannot track back anymore on the right, and Kanade is jittery on the right hand side. Harvey will help there. Barry, I'm at a loss, mate, to figure out why Harvey Elliott hasn't gotten a start recently. And it's not just myself. I've been reading lots of comments and fan forums and stuff as well, and I don't understand it. Like, it seems like Klopp is obsessed with the idea of playing Szoboszlai and Jones, and I don't for the life of me know why. You know, no hate towards either of them. Jones has stepped up at times over the last year and shown that he has it in him. Szoboszlai, I'll never doubt his quality, but I'm doubting what I'm seeing right now, and I don't know the reason for it. I don't know if it's fatigue, a new league, the position, but he needs to change something. Liverpool 7 said, I think Klopp is scared of making too many changes in the team, but why not? I mean, you know what we say all the time, the definition of insanity is repeating the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. I've said for a long time, there's only so many times a player will respond to the same words, the same encouragement, the same fears, the same everything. And for whatever reason, some of these lads aren't performing. And Klopp just keeps rewarding them at start after start. And I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. How do I upgrade my membership? Honestly, Mark, I don't know. I've no idea, mate. I've never bought memberships for a channel myself and upgraded it. So this is a YouTube a YouTube situation. Now, I know there have been people in the chat who've upgraded their membership, mate. But I honestly, embarrassingly don't know what the process is. I would say, though, I'm sure a quick Google search will probably give you a how-to video or something, or somebody in the chat will probably help. I wish it could be more help, mate, but this is where my lack of technical knowledge comes back to bite me in the backside. But let me just say this. I'm just delighted you're with us, mate, and you are a member. So please don't feel any pressure from that side to upgrade the membership. We're just great to have you with us, Mark. Kanade is like a rugby player when he tackles. He gets too tight on you, for me. He gets too touch tight to players and knocks into them and gives away too many silly free kicks, or commits himself to a challenge when a player's going nowhere. Ibu has all the tools to be a top quality centre-back, but there is something at the minute that isn't right with him. And I don't know what it is. He just does not look himself. So yeah, for me, Kwanzaa should come back in. I know Kwanzaa made a mistake against Manchester United, but look, I can deal with a mistake. A mistake is a one-off thing, no problem with. But last night, do you remember the goal that was ruled out for them? Correctly ruled out. Kanade was very close to playing him onside because he was lagging behind the rest of the defensive line. And those are lapses of concentration that we just can't have at this point of the season. What have we got? Ibrahim said, do you think our fullbacks coming inside to the midfield is making us worse by leaving space in behind? In transition, Ibrahim, yes. Because we've seen it so many times, and somebody I think alluded to it earlier on in the comments. If we give away possession in transition, we're wide open. So you either keep being brave but make sure that you play the right pass, or you change it. And look, that's on Jurgen to make that decision. The reason why we're seeing a lot of our fullbacks tucking inside is that the crossing from the half space seems to be preferred in modern football. I remember seeing Jesse Marsh on Monday Night Football talking about this, where they now want their players crossing from those half spaces and not wide out outside the 18-yard boxes. The stats show that if you are in those half spaces and you're crossing from there, you have a much better chance of scoring. I'm old school. I don't like people cutting inside all the time. The width of the pitch is there for a reason. But Klopp likes to condense the pitch, so he likes to try and play in as small an area as possible. And I guess cutting inside is part of that. Now, he did say that... I'm trying to remember what exactly he said. Bear with me. He did say that he thought Mohamed Salah was too wide at times. And that is something that I've mentioned a couple of times myself. I feel like Mo is receiving the ball and having to play his way into opportunities rather than receiving the ball in an area to make something happen. So I don't fully understand the intricacies of what Klopp and Linders want to do, but I know it isn't working at the minute. Mark said, if they click the perks, then they're taken to the memberships page and the upgrade button is there. So Mark said to the other Mark, if you click the perks, then they're taking the membership page and the upgrade button is there. I hope that's of some help to you, Mr. Mark Bavin. Ashley Dooley said, do you think we have a realistic chance of winning the league? Do we have a realistic chance? Yes. Do I expect it? No. I can't sit here knowing that we need a favour and feel any type of confidence that we're going to get it. If the favour had to come from Arsenal, I'd say yes. Maybe Arsenal drop points. But with City getting knocked out of Europe, I know that Haaland and De Bruyne are giving them injury concerns at the minute, but anything's possible. Anything is possible. 6 games is still a long way to go, but I'd feel a lot more comfortable if we were chasing somebody that wasn't City. What are your thoughts on Marco Rose? I don't know all that much about him, to be fair. I haven't... I couldn't even tell you his preferred system, in all honesty. So, yeah, I'm going to be honest and say I'm not the right person to give you a rundown on Marco Rose. Josh, how are you, mate? Josh Brayshaw. Happy to be part of this amazing community for 9 months. Thank you for all the amazing content. Much love and respect to you, mate. Right back at you, Josh. Thank you, mate. Michael said, Craig, you're spot on. Appreciate your support, Michael. And look, if people think differently, feel free to put it into the chat. You know, I know as football fans, we don't see everything the same way. You know, people interpret things differently. Like, for me at the moment, seeing Klopp smirking and seeing these sound bites come out in press conferences, that's really winding me up. I know people will tell me that Klopp smirking out of frustration, anger, whatever, but it just sets me off. I don't know what to say about it. Seeing him almost carefree on the sideline while Rome was burning around him just doesn't sit well with me. It looked like last night nobody was willing or able to grab that situation by the scruff of the neck. You know, I stand over every single word I said about Virgil van Dijk not being a captain. To me, he just is not a captain. He's an incredible centre-back, but he isn't a leader. I don't see it. That situation last night was an embarrassment. You go 1-0 up after 5 or 6 minutes with a penalty. And then what? An XG for the second half was something stupid like 0.14% when you need 2 goals. We didn't even work the keeper. The only shot on target I think we had in the second half was a tame Virgil van Dijk header from a corner. Didn't really work the keeper, more bounced into his arms. That's not good enough. They were there for the beating last night. You know, if that second goal goes in from Mohamed Salah, I truly believe that the nerves set in and they start to unravel. But after that moment, we seem to just fade. Luke said, Craig, as a Chelsea fan, can I ask your prediction for the semis? I'm saying United wins 3-0 and we beat City 3-2 in extra time. I do think there's a chance you could beat City, mate, I have to say. You've had some real tussles with them this season. And I know that, you know, this is the only silverware on offer for you guys. So I think that will be a fairly close semi-final. I've no idea what to expect with United and Coventry, because I've no idea what Coventry are like, because I've not really watched any of them. So, you know, you would expect the Premier League side to go through, but in fairness, United aren't very good this season either. So I think it'll be interesting. I think your semi-final is going to be close, though. I'd be very surprised if somebody runs away with it. I think I think Chelsea's tails are up at the minute. You know, the form Cole Palmer's in, they're starting to seemingly find a bit of a rhythm and a bit of belief, and City are wobbling a bit. It's how City react to being knocked out of the Champions League, because you and I both know that Guardiola is going to be in these guys' ears, saying to them, you need the correct response, you need to respond like champions and make sure that you finish the season with at least a double. What else we got? I missed your super chat. Camel Deep, my apologies, sir. Let me scroll back up, bro. I'll find it. There you go. Sorry, sir. I think the pressure of sending Klopp off with trophies has gotten to the players' heads. I think players and fans need to just enjoy these final games. So, I think there's something to that, mate. Yeah. But it was supposed to be used as fuel, right? And it hasn't really worked out that way, has it? It worked for a few weeks and then it seems to have petered away. And I don't know the psychology inside that dressing room. I don't know if some players who feel like maybe they're not getting a fair shake under Jurgen Klopp are almost semi-looking forward to Klopp departing at this point. I don't know. But I'm going to say something now that I can't bite my lip on much longer. The whole situation around the flags and banners and that protest around the Atalanta home game, that feels to me like a massive own goal scored by people who are Liverpool supporters. I'll never for the life of me get it. I'll never for the life of me understand how they thought that was sensible. Now it's ended up being Jurgen Klopp's last game at Anfield in Europe as Liverpool manager. Over what? 80p a game increase? I'll give you an example. I created an account last night to comment in the Echoes comment section. The only reason I created the account was I was sick of seeing the same comment on these threads. Comments like anybody who's complaining wouldn't be able to find Anfield on a postcode or on a map. All this kind of stuff. We all know who would say these people need Google Maps to find Anfield. And I got sick of it. I'm sick of overseas or non-local fans being scapegoated for everything that's wrong. Because it's factually incorrect. And I went on, right, I created the account, and I posted in response to one of these idiots. I didn't swear, I wasn't aggressive, I simply said, it wasn't the overseas fans, mate, who took their flags and banners away. It wasn't those who ruined the atmosphere for Klopp. It was local fans. And you know what happened? It got deleted. It got deleted because I dared question the wisdom of the chosen few. And that pisses me off because you can't have it every way. If you want to be real about this, my guy who gets tickets said to me that he was quoted $5,000 a ticket for the Wolves game. Last game. $5,000. Now, who do you think is selling those tickets? Because I can tell you it's a Scouser. And they do it all the time. But that seems to be okay. Slag off the tourists while at the same time, those same season ticket holders who have had season tickets from 40, 50 years ago, some of them, are just selling off tickets randomly and then blaming the people they're selling tickets to for the atmospheres. Even though over half of Anfield is season ticket holders. It gets a little bit tiring when you constantly see this propaganda that is, we're better than you, we're super fans, we're real fans, and because you didn't fall out of your mother's vagina in a Liverpool postcode, you couldn't dare understand it. And nobody calls it out. It annoys the shit out of me. And I'm fed up of it. These idiots, some of them need to take a long hard look in the damn mirror and realise that they are part of the problem. Do you think Gakpo and Szoboszlai and Elliot, to name a few, would probably like a new manager? I don't know. I've no idea. I've no idea. I think I've said this to you guys before, but we started Anfield Agenda from, I guess, the fallout of the whole FSG out malarkey that divided fans into FSG out or no. But it became a bit deeper than that. It became an excuse to take cheap shots at people who aren't born and bred in Liverpool. Now, I want to say, the majority of Scousers, the majority of match-going fans are sound people who understand the situation, welcome people in and treat them with friendliness. And I've never had anything but kindness when I've been over in Liverpool, nor has anybody that I've met. But there are some who are either through the anonymity of a keyboard or whatever, feel that they get to be arrogant about being a real fan, that they grew up in the area and that we couldn't possibly understand it. But also, here, give us your money. That stuff doesn't wash, and that hypocrisy needs to be called out for what it is. Bullshit. Why do you think Macca should be captain despite him not even being here for a year at the club? I think that he set a good example since he's come in, mate. And I think he has grabbed occasions and games by the scruff of the neck. I don't think it necessarily matters how long you're at a football club or not about being captain, in my opinion. It's just who's best suited to the role. I think Trent showed last night as well that he can do it. Trent grabbed that game last night and tried. He tried his best. He gave 70 minutes and he was more influential than most others in that game. So Trent is another one that I think absolutely could step up to that role because he's leading by example. I just happen to like McAllister on a personal level and think he'd be a good captain. I think Robbo would be another good captain. Just a personal choice, really. Philip said, spot on, Craig, and I'm a born and bred Scouser who's lived in Liverpool all his life. As I said, Philip, every time I go over to Liverpool, the real people I meet, not these online warriors, the real Scousers I meet, sound, welcoming, friendly, educated. And when I say educated, I mean on football, discussing everything. They understand the situation. They understand the economic benefits of having people from all parts of the world, and they enjoy interacting with them. But there are this small, loud minority that undermine everything. And I'm sure that the spirit of Shankly and Spion Cop have done great stuff. In fact, I know that they have. But they need to realise that you don't have a birthright to anything. If you can't afford a ticket and it's making your life difficult, that's understandable. Of course it is. But fuck off and let somebody else have it. You know, if it's that much of a problem and burden to you, Maybe it is time to hand back your season ticket. Football's moving on. I don't like that it's 100 and something quid a month for Sky Sports. I don't like that it's 100 quid a jersey. But this is the football world these days. And you can't have a club wanting it to keep challenging and moving forward, but also freeze things. 2% is what this whole joke of a thing was about. Forest have just put up their season tickets for next year by 20 to 25%. That is worth protesting about. But coming off the back of a 6 or 7 year freeze, it just feels like entitlement to me. And it's ugly. And I don't like it. And I get that their argument is going to be, but the club's making loads of money, they don't have to put the prices up. I get it. But neither do the people in the trainers you're wearing, the jacket you're wearing, the coffee you're drinking, the bread roll you're eating before the game. Everybody put up their prices. People need to be real. Craig, we get exposed. We often get exposed with only 2 in the back line. It's pretty worrying. Honestly, no other teams play it. It's a tactical disaster. I don't disagree with you. There are many times where we have to overcover. Like, I think Crystal Palace's goal against us last week was a good example of what you're talking about. Van Dijk had to try and deal with 2 people. And eventually, Kanade was just standing there as Eze, I think it was, pulled away and with nobody within 5 yards of him. That's criminal. That is criminal. Nobody within 5 yards. He gets a free strike in the 18-yard box with nobody closing them down. But that's because, as you've said, and correctly, they're being asked to do too much at times. Studio Flash. I used to go to the paddock with my dad. I was priced out of it after the cop went. And look, I don't like that football's become so expensive. I don't like it one bit. But it is what it is. And I think there needs to be a wider conversation around ticketing and availability of tickets, because I don't like a system where it's closed out to others. And those who are within the system exploit the system for their own benefit and claim it to be on the benefit of all Liverpool fans, when it quite simply isn't a lot of the time. Do you get angry when Klopp smiles on the touchline when we're losing? I get so annoyed. I do, Katie. I do, but I do also understand that that could be his coping mechanism. For me it would be to turn around and boot something or shout, but maybe Klopp's just reacting to his frustration with a smile. Now, as I said, it does wind me up, but I do understand that maybe it's just his coping mechanism. Hello, Craig. I hope you're having a good Friday. Thank you, Harry. Imagine that was the real Harry Maguire, just popping in to say hello. Will said, we can't go into the Champions League next season relying on the players that we all thought would win the Europa League. Changes are needed. Yes, I said, Will, at the very start that if we don't go and win the Europa League, it's an embarrassment. Because the only way to justify being in that competition is to show that you're too good for it and go and win it outright. And we didn't. And we lost to a decent Atalanta team, but a team that we should have been more than capable of beating. And that doesn't sit well with me. Personally to me, obviously I was more invested in the Europa League than most other seasons because the final was in Dublin. So I'm sure that there are other people who aren't fussed about us being out of the Europa League, and I respect their opinion as well. But that was the one thing we had left in our control yesterday, was the outcome of that game and the possibility to turn that around. And then at least we would have still had one trophy that was in our grasp or in our own hands. But to score it so early in that game like we did and just faded away into insignificance in it, it just left more questions than answers. If Ruben is staying, I would be worried next season, said Andrew Wright. So I gotta say, mate, that I don't know if he is staying or not. All I'm saying is that the sporting president has, I'm going to read it out here to you now. Sporting President Federico Varandas wants Ruben Amorim to remain at the club next season and is prepared to push for his stay at the club. Totally understand that. Anybody would do the same in that man's position. You know, they're going to want the best for their football club, and they're no doubt happy with a coach that's been delivering for them. Totally get it. I just hope that those requests fall on deaf ears. You know, I hope Ruben Amorim is the next Liverpool manager, because I'm worried if he isn't, because I don't see many other candidates that I'd feel comfortable with. But, you know, I've said all the way through this process, I don't have an insight into this. I don't know what's going on with the negotiations. I, like everybody else, am just relying on journalists and others to keep us informed. So I don't know what's happening. But, yeah, no, no Amorim, man, and I'm honestly lost as to what the hell happens. So one thing I would say is, if in an ideal world, I would like some closure on this managerial situation soon. And in a weird way, and I'd love to know what you guys think about it, I think that if we knew who the next manager was, it would probably improve performances as well, because they'd have some clarity. So I'm sure that, much like us fans, the players have concerns about the future of the club, the direction of the club, the hierarchy of the club. All understandable, like you'd have in any profession and in any job. So I think if we can get clarity on the managerial situation as soon as possible, I think that will help us in the remaining games of the season. That's just my 2 cents on it. Who was the ref and VAR for the Fulham game? One sec, Mark sent me this the other day, so I'm just going to scroll quickly through. Referee is Craig Pawson. Assistants, Mark Perry, Wade Smith. Fourth official, Sam Allison. And on VAR for the game, Tony Harrington. Assistant VAR, Richard West. So, nobody too worrying for that one. But unfortunately, for the game against Everton on Wednesday, I'm looking at that VAR official and going, oh, this isn't going to end well. So, referee for the Everton game is Andy Madley. Assistants, Harry Leonard and Nick Hopton. Fourth official, Simon Hooper. VAR for the game is David Coote. And the assistant VAR is Lee Betts. That doesn't really inspire confidence in me. But, again, if we can't beat a poor Everton team, we shouldn't be winning a league title anyway. We will get Potter, I bet, said Andrew Wright. Bilbert said triple the increase in season ticket prices. Like, I don't want this to sound like I'm some arrogant snob who doesn't understand people's financial hardships. I get it. I understand the point they're trying to make. I just feel this is the wrong battle. I feel like they've picked the wrong battle here. Because one thing that I haven't seen mentioned too much in this protest stance is that the £9 ticket for locals or local juniors remains unchanged. So one of the problems, or one of the worries, and I think this is a very understandable worry from Spirit of Shankly, I have to say I agree with them on this point, is that we want to make sure that that next generation of Liverpool fans get to go through, get to go onto the Kop, get to fall in love with the club. So I fully understand wanting that next generation, and the club have not increased those prices. So I don't get it. It just feels like a really silly fight to pick for 2%. Can somebody put the Everton VAR in the chat? I'll say it for you again, mate. No problemo. VAR for the Everton game is Tony Harrington. Tony Harrington, mate. No, I'm sorry. No, that's for the Fulham game. My apologies. David Coote, mate. David Coote is the VAR for the Everton game. I don't want Potter. Nor the I, Sergu. Nor the I. Graham Potter smacks of United rather than Liverpool, if I'm being honest with you. I don't want Graham Potter. No, I don't. I want Ruben Amorim. That's it for me. There is no second. It's get it done. And I think, look, I feel confident we will get it done. You know, we certainly have two very capable people in Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards doing these, or being part of these negotiations. So, look, I do trust we've got good people working on it, but it would be nice to get some certainty. What about Ancelotti? He's at Real Madrid, mate, and no sign of him leaving this season anyway. Maybe one more year and perhaps he departs then. So again, the timing doesn't really work for Ancelotti, but he's an incredible coach. Barry said, "Hi Craig, like far too many teams, Fulham have had great joy down our right hand side. All 3 goals at Anfield were crosses from there. Last week another overload there and we gave the ball away. This has bugged me all season." Yep, and you're right to be bugged by it, Barry. But a lot of these, if I remember correctly, came from turnovers of us in possession, giving the ball away cheaply and being countered. And yeah, we've been cut out. We've been asking our right-sided centre-back to do a lot. And what happens there, of course, is if Kanade or Kwanzaa or whomever is playing the right-side centre-back, when they push across, it stretches the distance between the centre-backs, creating more space for the opposition players to attack. You have every right to be annoyed by those things because you're not imagining them. Nomad, how are you, mate? And thank you. Membership for 9 months, bro. Really appreciate that. Said, "I still believe we can win the league, but not getting my hopes up. Let's enjoy our last games with Klopp." Yeah, I think that's all we can do, mate, is try and take these games one at a time now and make sure that you go out there and win every game. If we end up this season winning the last 6 games, and if we come up short, it's not going to take away the pain of not winning a league title, but it will give Klopp a better send-off. And I've said the same thing for my entire time since Klopp's been our manager. I do not want to look back and think what may have been for situations. I mean, I was having a conversation with Ben earlier on and we were talking about what Klopp has won since he's been at Liverpool. And Ben was saying to me, things like 1 league title over the course of the 9 years. It's not a dynasty, and it's a fair comment. But I think if you look at what points tallies we put up in other seasons that weren't good enough to win a league title, they would have won league titles in almost every other era. So we've also been very unlucky in the era that we've been in with Manchester City. If Manchester City weren't the force that they are for the reasons that we all believe that they are, who knows? Who knows where we are? But, we've been in 3 Champions League finals, won 1 of them. We've lost the Europa League final. We finished runners-up on a couple of occasions, and maybe we'll finish runners-up on the 3rd occasion. There's so many things that, small margins could have made a difference. And the fear I've always had about looking back on the Klopp's time at Liverpool and fearing that it could have been a bit more, I think it's going to sit with me. But I also have to caveat that by saying Jurgen Klopp has given me the best time of my life as a Liverpool fan. Regardless of losing in those European Cup finals, the journey to get to them, the moments, the camaraderie, the fans coming together in support, they're priceless. They're amazing. But right now, I think a lot of us are angry because the big goodbye, the last dance, it's not turning into what we'd all hoped, and it's petering away. It's fizzling out, and it doesn't feel like a fitting send-off. Like, to think that Jurgen Klopp's last European game at Anfield was a bannerless, flagless 3-0 tepid home defeat to Atalanta. That's not... He deserves more than that. He deserves better than that. And I think that it hurts. It hurts all of us. And sometimes we lash out because of that. Sometimes we turn on each other because of that. Sometimes we get frustrated because of it. But ultimately, we all feel disappointed in what this is turning into, because the great man deserves better than that. Now, you can make an argument that he hasn't helped himself at times, and that's fair enough as well. We've missed Fabinho pinning teams in, I feel, said John Williams. So, I have to admit, John, in the past 2 weeks, mate, I've changed my mind into wanting us to go and get a CDM. It's not because I don't think Endo can do a job. He can. But I think we could sort that position out for longer if we do go out there into the market and really bring someone in. And I think we do need that defensive midfielder now, either to compete with Endo or to be that starting guy. I'd love to sit here confidently saying it's going to be Stefan Bajcetic, but I feel like that's a risk that we don't have the luxury of taking, because we don't know what Stefan's prognosis or his injury outlook might be. I think we all agree the quality of a player are there, the temperament is there, and he looks like a fine footballer. And I hope that he stays injury free. But he's lost a year now, basically. So I think we need to be proactive and not hopeful in that scenario. We need to go out there and solve the puzzle. And if we end up having one too many, grand. We can look at that situation then. But it's better having that than one too little when it comes to another crunch part of the season. Is it Klopp has been so successful and frightened new managers off now? See, I don't know, mate, but my attitude to that would be, if anybody looks at Liverpool and Klopp's era and scared of coming in after him, I would argue that they're not the right character for the job. They're not the right persona for the job. What you would hope for, and what I hope Ruben Amorim is doing, is looks at it and goes, okay, big shoes to fill in what you're going to achieve, but good academy coming through. Players have broken in this season. A little bit of midfield refresh. Yes, he'll want a couple of tweaks, but I think he'll look at it, and I hope that the next manager looks at it and is up for it, fancies it, and thinks, I can win stuff here. Because if they don't think that, then don't sign the damn contract, because that's not the mindset we need. We need a manager that has no self-doubts, that is coming in and think, I am going to be successful. It is my moment to step up and become the Liverpool manager. You know, we're not a club in crisis. You know, we're not a laughing stock at the moment. We're a club that is going in the right direction, that has rebounded from a disappointing season last year and will be in the Champions League again. So there's a lot for the next manager to be very optimistic about. Are you worried Stefan will be one of those players who's always injured? I don't know, Dave, mate, is the honest answer, because, you know, sometimes there is a year in a young player's career where they need this physical development. I think, and I'm open to be correct, I think Gerrard had a similar spell in his early days where he had to kind of grow into his man body and get used to the physicality and the rigours of the Premier League. And then after that, you know, I certainly wouldn't have said he was injury prone at all. So I think and hope that that's the case with Stefan, that it's just a younger body developing and getting used to the physical needs as his body develops into his adult man body, and that core work that he needs to work on with the physios and the sports science team are just going to help strengthen his body and prepare him for the rigours of Premier League football. Should we trigger Solanke's buyback clause? I don't know if I'm being a snob here, but I would say no. I worry that sometimes it's a player at the right club in the right moment and things are set up for that player to do well. And Solanke has had a really good year, and I've watched a few of his games and he's looked really impressive. But I would also say that we're probably going to end up overpaying, and I still would have some lingering doubts. But it's getting harder and harder to keep believing in Darwin. It just is, for all the want, will, and positivity, because there's been loads of positivity towards Darwin from the Liverpool fan base. I know some people have thrown their toys out of the pram occasionally, but ultimately a lot of us have seen the other stuff. You know, the hard work, the enthusiasm. But that stat of those missed chances, it's embarrassingly bad, the amount of missed chances. And how long do we give him? You know, how long do you continue to believe in him as your number 9? Now, I'm hoping that maybe Amorim sees something or can set up a system to get the best out of Darwin, because playing through the centre for Liverpool, I haven't liked him as much as I have seen him play on the left-hand side. He needs space to run into, and he hasn't had that. So I don't know if a new manager can change that or get something out of him, or if we're all just hoping for a miracle that may never come. You can see again what he's capable of, though. Graham Quinn said Gerrard and Giggs had growing pains as young players too. We should have bought Isaac instead of Nunez. Well, I think Newcastle are going to sell one big player this summer. A lot of talk it could be Bruno Guimaraes, but it could be Isak. And I wouldn't say no if the opportunity arose to get Isak. I don't think it will, but I wouldn't say no. Right, I just want to check my notes, because there was one player we were linked with. So Liverpool have been handed an enormous boost in their pursuit of Ukrainian wonder kid Geordie Sudakov after Shakhtar Donetsk CEO has admitted we will definitely sell him in the summer. The article goes on to say that we had some contact with big clubs, negotiating with us directly, but we're getting a feel for the summer environment. He will definitely move to a top European club this summer. When I was at Chelsea versus Everton on Monday, many people were asking me about Sudakov. He went on to say, I told Napoli in January that they could have him for €50 million plus bonuses. They offered €40 million, but I said to them, close the deal now or lose this unique chance. Now it will not be €50 million. That would have no chance to do it because we have many more clubs looking. The most interest will come from English clubs. For me, he has become one of the best midfielders in Europe and the world. I've got to be honest, I'm very ignorant about this dude. I don't know anything about him. So if any of you guys have been watching Shakhtar, let me know, because I know nothing of this kid, but he's described as a wonder kid. Alex Macklin, thank you for gifting 5 memberships, mate. Very kind. The glazing is insane. I have no idea what that means, mate. Sorry if I don't understand the lingo, if that was a mistype, but I don't know what you mean. Would you want us to get Tony? Nope. For one reason and one reason only, Mark. He wants £250,000 a week at his next club, according to reports in the paper. Yeah. So, no. Not if I'm not worth £250,000 a week. And I think, what is he? What age is Ivan Toney actually? Is he 27, 28? So, yeah, I'd prefer somebody younger. Why are Liverpool so obsessed with young up-and-coming talents instead of players that have already got their position in European football, like Barella? I would imagine it's value and resale. That would be my guess. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with trying to bring in the best young talent around Europe. But as you said yourself, it's nice to pair that with some here and now players as well. That owner said that Mudryk was amazing, so I'm unsure. I might be deluded here, right? But I've always felt like if he had gone to Arsenal, he'd have been a better player than we're seeing at Chelsea. I think Mudryk made the wrong choice. I could be completely deluded in that, but that's been my belief on Mudryk since he went to Chelsea, is that he just made the wrong choice. What's happening with Amorim? So there was a story earlier on from O Jogo, which is a Portuguese media outlet, and it said Sporting President Federico Varandas wants Ruben Amorim to remain at the club next season and is prepared to push for his stay at the club. And as I said earlier on, who was it that asked this one? Where is it? Oh, Archie. I fully expect that would be the case, you know. He's done really well there. Of course, the Sporting president is going to want him to stay on. The difference, I would say, between him and Xabi Alonso's situation is he's been at Sporting longer. So maybe he feels like he's finished the cycle. He'll have won 2 league titles there, potentially a Portuguese Cup as well. So I think Amorim will want to take that next step, but we'll have to wait and see. Can I polish your head? So D21, the childish part of me, and trust me, that's a big part of me, wants to say that one needed. But an answer, mate, yeah, sure. I don't really need a polish though. Look at it, it's pretty shiny. Craig, are Liverpool lacking players with grit and strength? I, it's hard to say no to that when that grit hasn't been on show, but more often than not, under Jurgen Klopp's reign, we've showed that grit and determination. I don't know if Mane and Firmino and Fabinho and the likes of Jorginho and Wijnaldum leaving, maybe some of that grit and determination's been lost because it doesn't feel like the same desire is still there. Sometimes, though, it can be just as simple as hunger. You know, I say this about boxers all the time. I've never been able to understand how somebody can be like AJ, as an example, can be worth hundreds of millions of pounds and still be motivated. It's always been an alien concept to me because, you know, I know in his position I would have cashed out by now. So, you know, I think we need some more hunger. And maybe some players have gotten too comfortable. I think that's probably a fairer way of saying it. Do you think if we kept Fabinho, we would be playing well right now due to the revamp of the midfield? I don't know, because I don't know what Fabinho we would have gotten. You know, I think if we're being really honest, let's look back at the Fabinho in that last campaign, and we weren't happy with him. You know, it's easy to look back in hindsight and remember the best times with these guys, but I think it's fair to say we all felt like Fabinho's race was ran by the time he left Liverpool. And we thought that the offer was fair, and it was probably the right time. So what I would say is the cheap option that we went for in Endo looks like it's starting to show that along with a few other decisions could have been the small factors that changed the course of our season. I don't know what Caicedo would have looked like in this Liverpool team, but I know I would have felt far more confident before the season started if he was in there. And I think, like going to Chelsea, like I said about Mudryk, I feel like if he came to Liverpool, we'd see a better Caicedo. So there's a lot on the owners for me in the summer. A lot that they need to put their hand in their damn pockets, because we need to make sure that we stay at the top table, and we need to make sure that we stay challenging, and the owners have a part to play in that. You know, you can't always just go from a £150 million signing to an £18.5 million signing and get away with it. So they need to go big as well. Southgate, let's have a vote. Let's not, because I can tell you one thing undoubtedly. If Gareth Southgate became the Liverpool manager, I wouldn't stream anymore. I couldn't bring myself to watch. I'm not even joking. I couldn't. I don't like anything about Gareth Southgate. Nothing. Not anything. Zip. Nada. He has been so anti-Liverpool since he's been the England manager. He is a shite manager. He is a yes man. He is nothing that I would associate with Liverpool Football Club. So yeah, not for me. Not by a long shot. No, I wouldn't even take him as the under-21s manager. I wouldn't want him near Liverpool Football Club. They don't have the mentality like Wijnaldum, Hendo, Fab and Milner. I've said this for a few weeks now, and I've got no proof of this. It's just an idea inside my own head, but something feels like there's something behind the scenes in the football club that there's a disagreement over. It feels like there's been a split somewhere or something, and I don't know. Has there been too much change, maybe? You know, in a season where Jurgen's going to depart and then we brought in a new sporting director, and I just wonder, are FSG wanting to surround themselves with people willing to shop in Lidl and Aldi and not Marks and Spencer's? You know, because everybody we hear, whether it's from a sporting director to a manager, the same comments keep coming up, that they want them to be able to overachieve, that they want them to be able to get more than the sum of the money they've been given. Or I just once like to see FSG actually grow a pair and do what a Real Madrid would do, which is go out there and strategically, incisively bring in the players you need in each position. Just bang, 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 done. And not have to settle or not have to flirt or get the newspaper headlines and then just see the player that go off elsewhere. It's about time we put our balls on the table and acted like one of the biggest clubs in world football. I feel it's unfair to judge your team with so many players who are in their debut season. Also, you guys have overachieved when you looked at last season in comparison to this one. So, there's some truth to that. But what I would say is, your expectations change as the season goes on. So, yes, you are right that a lot of us would have accepted this situation in the summer. But it's hard to accept this situation now when you've dropped 5 points out of 6 in your last few games and you could be clear at the top of the league with it in your own hands, but you're not. And it's not because of anything other than poor performances. It's not because of an injury crisis, because this is the part of the season where players are starting to come back from injury. So I think what you've said has some sense to it. I agree with you about the younger players. There's been lots of promising development there. But we shit the bed. And whatever we felt or believed last summer, we had a chance this year to win the league, win the Europa League, and we've gone out with a whimper in the Europa League. We've let a very poor Manchester United team beat us in the FA Cup, and we lost at home to Crystal Palace. You know, that's not good enough. Michael Edwards and Klopp don't see eye to eye, said Whitehammer. I would be team Michael Edwards in that debate, because I agree that sometimes players are past their best before. And I understand Jurgen's point on a lot of these players wanting to keep them around for their experience and their leadership. But that didn't work out too well. You know, the players that Klopp gave those extensions to, they didn't exactly overperform and end up looking like they deserved those extensions a lot of the time. You know, Milner, you know, I can totally understand I wanting to keep Milner around. Henderson, he went to bat for, and then Henderson ran off to Saudi. Didn't work out too well. So for me, like I said about Salah, I would look at the situation and think his best days are behind him. If somebody wants to give us 100 million, sell him and rebuild. So I would agree with Michael Edwards in that, because I do think younger, hungrier players are the new norm. You know, I think the days of bringing in your 27, 28-year-old superstars, clubs are looking to go in another direction now. Clubs are looking to get the best 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old players, and I'd rather see us put the money in there than keep paying contracts to players who just aren't what they once were. Klopp's been a yes man for FSG. See, I don't know the answer to that. You know, I can see why you've said it. I can see why people may think it, and I can see why people may think the opposite. There have been times where I felt like I would have loved Jurgen Klopp to be a bit more forthcoming or a bit more critical of the owners. But I also do understand that he has to have a relationship with the owners that's based off trust and understanding. So I can kind of see both sides of the fence, but what I've always said was, if Jurgen had have spoken out, if he had have wanted more from the owners, I think he would have been met with nothing but support from the fan base. So I don't know, maybe he was genuinely happy with the money he was given. Maybe he genuinely felt FSG did all they could do. I don't. I don't for 1 second think they've done all that they can do. I think they're looking to cheap out again, and they always look to cheap out, and they only spend money on things that will bring them money in the longer term. I don't feel for 1 second that they're hungry for success. You know, they're not leaving no stone unturned. They're not doing all that they can. They just aren't. They have been more good than bad for the club. Absolutely. But they're cheap. And nobody will ever convince me otherwise. Every summer or every season it's 30, 40 million net spend after sales. It's bullshit. We should be spending more than that. I swear Salah was good during the first half of the season. Every single time he goes to the AFCON and comes back, he looks like a shadow of his former self. I'll say what people are too scared to say on this. He should have retired from international football. Simple. And I'll say this as well, because I've said it all the way through. Sometimes I look at Mohamed Salah and think that he is more about brand Salah than Liverpool. I've never been able to shake that. I don't always feel like he has put the club first. I feel like he has sometimes rushed himself back from injuries to play for Egypt. Sometimes taken on too much with Egypt. And certainly put up with too much nonsense from some of the media in Egypt. If I would have loved him to have hung up his international boots and focused on his club career. It's not his fault the AFCON is on when it's on, but it feels very detrimental to us a lot of the time, you know? And every time he went away with the international team, there seemed to be an argument and a fight and a disagreement between Liverpool and the Egyptian FA over stupid things. And it just was distractions. And if it wasn't the distractions, it was season after season of his contract. Will he leave? Will he stay? Seeing his agent put snidey posts on social media. You know, seeing him being pictured with the PSG president. All that stuff wound me up something rotten. And yet I can't be critical of him. Because some people feel like he's beyond reproach. I don't. I think he looks after Mo. And I think he does what's best for Mo. Doesn't mean I don't think he's a good player. But I don't always feel like he's done the best thing for us. And I would have dropped them as soon as I seen that picture of him with the PSG president. Not a chance he'd have been playing that week if I was the manager. That's a shitty look for the football club. And talking about respect and wanting to be paid what you deserve and earn. There's been too many distractions during this time at the club. Too many, it's all about Mo's. Whether it's people having to walk on eggshells when Mane won the AFCON or when Mane and Senegal knocked Egypt out of the playoffs. Just too much shit that just hasn't sat well with me. And I can't lie about it. I've not liked it. I've not enjoyed that part of it. Crazy how the City game is only a month ago. Best football we've played all season and now being served up this absolute shite by players. Stanislav said, Craig, feeling sad today. Nacho's leaving us after 23 years at the club. Hopefully this is the sixth Champions League as captain. He deserves it. He's a great servant to Spanish football and to you guys, yes. So he chose Liverpool. Chose Liverpool over his home nation. I don't understand what you're trying to say there. I don't know what you're going to say. Do I want him to choose Liverpool over his country? Yes. Because he ain't going to win shit with Egypt. Because they're not very good. And the way that he's been vilified by some people in the media over there for something as simple as a Christmas tree with his family and his daughter, or for his humanitarian efforts, I found the whole thing just snidey and annoying. You're too harsh on Mo, Craig. I don't think I am. I think people are too soft on him. Like, I find it hard to stomach somebody saying you're too harsh on Mo when at the same time we're supposed to be treating him as a superstar that is a game changer and a talisman. And look, it's my opinion. I don't say you have to agree with it. But it's my opinion. It's my honest opinion. And I'm not going to continue to blow smoke up somebody's arse when I don't feel they deserve it anymore. Mo was a player like the other 10 players on the pitch. Liverpool paid his wages. Liverpool got him the name he has become. Well, not to be fair to him, his outstanding performances have got him all of that credibility and exposure and admiration as well. And he's earned it. But I can't sit here and say that I haven't found it a distraction. Like, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me that over the past 3 or 4 years, we haven't spent weeks talking about his contract and his agent and situations around him. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me that it hasn't been the main discourse for a lot of summers and a lot of conversations. Because I found it a distraction as a fan. You can't expect a player to choose club over country. Of course I can. Especially if you want to be paid £350,000 a week to perform and you're not. And your national team aren't very good. Why shouldn't I expect him to hang up his boots? He's 32 years of age this summer. I'm not asking him at 26 or 27. But I'm saying I would have preferred he hung up his boots. Simple as. Carragher did it. Ben White has backed out of the England team to concentrate on their club football. Many players over the years, when they've gotten to 29, 30, 31, have stepped away from international football. I'm not asking for something that's not, I won't say commonplace because that's probably untrue, but it's not an irrational thing. When Mo is good, he's outstanding. Brilliant. But when was the last time he was either of those two things, Rachel? Truly, when? Has he been outstanding or good since the AFCON? The answer is no. Has he looked like anywhere near the same player? The answer is no. I don't understand how people can't differentiate between the Mo that was there for the last 6 or 7 years and the Mo we have now. I'm not for 1 second trying to say that he hasn't performed for the last 6 or 7 years. Those numbers speak for themselves. But he isn't doing it now. And now is the situation where we have to make a decision on a new deal or selling him. And I think it's very, very clear he should be sold. Again, I don't understand how people can't differentiate that. I'm not saying what happened before wasn't brilliant. He was great. Of course he was. I'm not an idiot. But he isn't what he once was. Didn't Vardy? Yes, many people have stepped away from international football to prolong their own career. Mo wants to win the AFCON with Egypt. I want to fuck Mila Kunis. But neither of those two things are likely to happen anytime soon. In fact, I probably have a better chance. I want Ireland to win a World Cup, but it doesn't mean I want John O'Shea playing till he's 107. One bad season doesn't change the fact he gave us 6 good seasons. Who the fuck is saying it does? This is what does my bicky in. Nobody ever once said he hasn't had 6 good seasons. This is the stupidity that really winds me up. He has had 6 great seasons, and I can't count the amount of times I've said that his legacy is secure at Liverpool and he's earned every bit of it. It baffles me that we can't differentiate between 6 years ago and now. Now he's dirt. Now he's not performing. Now he's missing sitters. Now he looks like a shadow of himself. Nobody's denying what he did to this point. What do you mean, nah, Craig, you're not serious? I'm deadly serious. I'm right. I'm absolutely 100% right. I said sell him 6 months ago. People laughed. Now, we did a poll, 70% want to sell him. He's just not been good enough. Oh, and Darwin. I see people talking about Darwin. Darwin, shocking. the finishing in front of goal, I can't explain that. I can't. But the difference between Darwin and Mo is Darwin's not 31, 32. And Darwin has more years left on his contract. If Mohamed Salah had 3 years left on his Liverpool deal, I wouldn't be having the conversation about selling him now. I wouldn't. I would happily keep him at the club. But we're not at that point. We're at a point where a big decision has to be made. And that decision is either throw more money at him or cash in. That's where we're at right now. And right now, I really, really, really feel that the right answer is to cash in. Nomad said, we've had amazing years with Mo, but Father Time looks like it's catching up with him. Yes. Like, when's the last time we've seen Mo do what he did against Spurs, slalom his way through a defence and bury it, do what he did against City? He's not the same razor sharp, explosive finisher even. But that's now. 6 years before, 100% agree with you. He will go down as an all-time great at our football club and will deserve every bit of it. But I'm just saying we don't commit more money. We don't throw more money at a player who's past his best. That's all I'm trying to say. And we all want the next manager to come in and have the ability to spend. The best chance he's going to have is to make some difficult decisions and cash in on some players, because the owners, as I've said before, are cheap. I think people are missing out on this part of what I'm saying. The owners are cheap. If the owners weren't, if we were, let's say, Real Madrid, and I knew that our owners were going out there to bring in an Mbappe, a Bellingham, Alphonso Davies, or anybody, I would think, keep Mo around. Keep him till he's 34, 35, 36. But I know that will come at the detriment of the rest of the transfer kitty. So, all these things form my opinion. It's not just one moment, or it's the whole thing. And as I've said, if Mo's contract renewal wasn't up for negotiation, I wouldn't be saying anything other than I hope he rediscovers his form. I expect Mo to get good soon. Well, he's got 6 games left, and fingers crossed that he can find that form, mate, because, you know, be nice for us to end the season on a positive, and yeah, just get some positive vibes at the club. It'd be nice. I hope you're right. I'd love to see him rediscover it. I'd love to see Darwin go on a crazy goal scoring run for the last 6 games, but all we can talk about is what we're seeing happening at the minute. And let's be honest, folks, the last few weeks have seen more frustration than positivity. Lukey Boy said, think you're starting to turn me, Craig. I agree with you. I don't take any pleasure, Lukey Boy, in saying that I want to sell Salah. I don't take any pleasure in it whatsoever. I just think it's the right call at the right moment. Now, here's one that I would love to get your opinion on. What the hell happens with Virgil van Dijk? What do you do with him now if you're Liverpool? Because I think Trent's a no-brainer. You try to get Trent a new deal. He's got age on his side. And I think he's had a very, very good season this season, Trent. And I think he's developing into a leader. And I think that's a no-brainer. But with Virg and Mo, I don't know what Michael Edwards will look at. My own personal opinion is, I think VVD can easily play for 2 or 3 more years. I don't like him being captain, but I think as a centre-back, because he doesn't rely on explosive pace and his reading of the game is good, I think he can carry on at the top level for a little bit longer. But I hope that the thought from the club is to get that negotiation sorted out. Sorry, Harry, I'm scrolling up now, bro. It's time for Núñez to be the main man, and Dom too, said Harry Klein. Well, Dom is... I don't know what's gone up with Dominic Szoboszlai over the last few months. He's fallen off a cliff. Yeah, that one's really surprised me because, you know, you can see what Dom is capable of, but he just hasn't been at it recently. And the most alarming thing, I think, with Szoboszlai has been how fatigued he's looked. TAA66 says, to be honest, I would sell Salah. We need to look at the future, not the past. Darwin, he ain't good enough. Sell him, in my opinion. So the thing I'd say about selling Darwin is, I'm not going to tell anybody that they're wrong for having that opinion, because I totally empathise with why you would feel that way. My concern would be, what are you likely to get for him if you sold him? That would be what I would say about Darwin. Like, if you sold him this summer, I have no idea what would you get. Pranav said, Craig, just tuned in. Terrible few days with my mental health. What's this about? Excuse me, my mental health. What's this about Amorim? Firstly, Pranav, thank you for sharing about your mental health, mate. And I hope whatever is causing you to struggle at the minute, I hope you find a solution or some positivity, or things take an uptick for you, mate. Always appreciate your insight and your comments on the channel. You're somebody who's, opinions and support I value a lot. So I hope that you're well, mate, on that front, and I hope that you feel better soon. On the other stuff, Amorim, it's basically just the sporting president saying that he wants him to remain at the club, and he's prepared to, I guess, he says push for us to stay. I think he means throw more money at him, but yeah, that's where we're at with that, mate. A couple more things I haven't read out yet, actually. So Jurgen Klopp quoted today as saying, I think if we would win all our games, there's a good chance that we'll be champion. I don't know if I agree or disagree with Jurgen on that one. I mean, if you won 6 games in a row now, I don't know, maybe he's right. Like, there's certainly a chance that he's right. I think we just all look at how daunting City are when they get into this rhythm, and they're good leaders. They're good. They're not great. You're not likely going to catch them. So, even a point against Palace would have made all the difference, because now if City drew, let's say, and we won, it would be a goal difference shootout between us and them if we kept going to the end of the season. So, I mean, it's hard to say. If we won all our games between now and the end of the season, I don't know what the likelihood of us winning the league is if we did it. I don't know, because I don't know where City drop points. Maybe Spurs away. Some news actually came out earlier on, and I don't know how much trust to put in this, but it came from Transfer Sector, and they said, breaking, Manchester City is already preparing for the future without Guardiola. Pessimism is growing regarding the coach's continuity from 2025 when his contract ends. I said this to you guys the other day. I thought that's when his contract was up, but I do think he'll run before the shit hits the fan with the 115 charges, in my humble opinion. I have a bit of news on Pep Lijnders for you guys as well, actually. I know a lot of people are a bit surprised that maybe Pep Lijnders hasn't been more in the conversation for the Liverpool manager's job. And I think, from what I understand, he ruled himself out of that before he really came up for consideration. But the Daily Express today have written a piece that said Pep Lijnders could take Liverpool's entire backroom team with him to Besiktas after offering himself to the Turkish giants. I don't know if that's a worrying thing or not, because I don't know. I would assume the next manager would like to bring in his own team. So I always expected the Liverpool coaching staff to depart at the end of the season. I think, reading between the lines, that was kind of what was said. Hope we buy a ball-playing midfielder. Can't be a press, said Got Cool. It was incredibly worrying last night, guys, wasn't it? How as soon as Atalanta went man-to-man with us, we had no ideas. They did it in the first leg as well, and they did it really well. And I don't think it's fair for us to talk about losing to Atalanta without giving them credit. They deserve their place in the semi-final, and I have nothing but best wishes for them. I thought their fans were fantastic. there was something that their coach said which really struck a chord with me, and if anything just made me like Gasperini even more. He was proud of how they came to Anfield and last night and didn't waste time, didn't cry arse on the ground rolling around, stood up and fought and won. And he's right. He is damn right. They didn't. They played the game properly. They weren't time wasting. They just beat us. And it was refreshing. It was sad. It was disappointing from our perspective, but he's damn right. Those Atalanta players stood up and were counted. And it was impressive. And they deserved their place in the semi-final. And I thought Gasperini spoke very well. It has to be Hansi Flick if Amorim doesn't come. I rate him highly and there are no other options, said Pranav. I really have to say I was kind of late to even discovering about Hansi Flick, until he got the Bayern job. So I don't know, mate. I don't know whether Hansi Flick would be good enough or not. I have to say, I just don't know. Respect to Atalanta, said Nomad. Yeah, fully, mate. Absolutely. They deserve respect. They deserve congratulations. That they won fair and square and they were the better team over the two legs. Apart from the Atalanta goalie hugging the ball on the ground. Yeah, that's just a modern thing though, isn't it? With a keeper, when they get the ball like that, just fall to the ground. But I have to say, they were no Atletico Madrid, Some of the antics over the years playing against them would drive you demented. Do I think Klopp was wrong to announce his departure? Well, I don't know, Darren, because I understand that they wanted to control the narrative, and I don't know if there was close to a leak coming out. The whole thing did feel a little bit rushed at the time, and it kind of feels like from the outside they thought maybe a leak was coming. So it's a really difficult one, because some people in the chat made some very good points to me the other day as well and said, look, Liverpool need to be able to conduct that search openly, and it would hinder them if they were trying to do it without, I guess, the world knowing that Klopp was departing. So I think I can understand it. Yeah, I think he probably did the right thing in hindsight, but when things start to fall apart in the last part of the season, I guess we're all just looking for any reason, and maybe, that's one reason that we look at, but I think probably it was understandable anyway. They were quite rough house, to be honest. Kicked up Mo. I don't remember them being really dirty, Vern, but maybe I need to watch it back and have another look. Anybody who talks about Southgate to Liverpool in the chat, I'm just going to ban. It's as simple as that, because you can't be real. You can't be serious. It's a wind-up. I refuse to believe that any Liverpool fan with a brain would even suggest Gareth Southgate. I'm sorry. Tanzania in the house. Thank you, EJD. Appreciate your support, my friend. Thank you. Is Amorim staying or what? The Sporting president said they're going to try and get him to stay, but I don't know from his side what the situation is. That's what I was saying earlier on, mate. It'd be lovely if we got some clarity over the managerial situation soon, because I feel like it would help the end of the season. I feel like it would help at least give some clarity to the players, to the fans, and maybe even to Jurgen in a weird way. I don't know. The thing I keep coming back to is I believe that the difference between the Amorim situation and the Alonso situation was how long both were at the clubs. Xabi Alonso was only in there a season and a half, and probably does feel he still has more to achieve with that Leverkusen team, certainly taking them into the Champions League. But with Amorim, this would be a second Portuguese title with Sporting, and a cup if he can win the cup this season as well. I think they play Porto in the final, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe he's looked at it and thought, the cycle's over there. I've done as much as I can at Lisbon, and maybe it's time to take a step up. It will be Thomas Tuchel. I think he'll end up being the next United manager. I was, again, discussing this with Ben earlier on, and I think he'd be a good solution for Manchester United, because as much as Eric Ten Hag has tried to wrestle back that dressing room, I don't think he has the gravitas and the CV to really demand that respect. Whereas I'm not a big fan of Tuchel, but he's been a Champions League winner. He's been 3 Champions League semi-finals with 3 different clubs. And I think he would be a good fit for Manchester United where they're currently at. And I've always said this about him at Liverpool. It would feel like we're just getting a watered-down version of Jurgen. Craig, don't you think Sporting will want to put up some resistance to look better to their fans? Of course, absolutely. But that's where the release clause comes in. You know, that's both Sporting's get out of jail card and Liverpool's silver bullet. You know, that is there. So if you get the agreement with the player, or excuse me, with the coach and his agent, you know what you have to do to get Amorim out of his contract. Can you give us your thoughts on Amorim and will be signed Gyökeres as our striker? I don't know about the second part, Vaseem, but my thoughts on Ruben Amorim are that he's a very impressive character, that he is very proficient at using a low block. So I'm hoping if he's proficient at using it, that he might have a better way of us, you know, unlocking a low block if we play against it. I think his trend of playing 3 at the back is more of a modern trend, and I think we could utilise that at Liverpool. I think we'd have players in our fullback positions that could absolutely be very good as wing backs, especially if you're looking at Bradley or Trent or Robertson. I don't know on the Gyökeres thing though. What I will say to you though is the player's agent was speaking about the reason that he went to Sporting over other clubs in Europe, and he said Ruben Amorim was the reason. So if he wanted to take Gyökeres to Liverpool, I would assume that the player would still want to come play for him, because he was the big attraction. And I'm not putting those words in anyone's mouth. That was what his agent said. The player's agent said Amorim was the reason they chose Sporting. Do I know Johnny Minerals, top of the league YouTube? I don't know. No, I don't. No, I don't, mate. Zidane is going to United. I don't think he is, because he doesn't speak English. And he doesn't strike me as the type of coach that with the system that's in place there with Dave Brailsford and Ineos, he doesn't strike me as the type of coach to work in that system, or that United's new partial owners would want. Craig, I think playing 3 in midfield would help create space for Trent. I don't mean this to sound rude. Maybe I'm missing something, but we already play 3 in midfield. Do you mean like a 3-5-2 system or something like that? Which would probably be a solution, because I've often said to you guys, I don't know what Trent Alexander-Arnold in midfield for Liverpool would look like, but I know he has the range of passing that's where he could do his best work from. Do you think we regret selling Mane? No. I mean, let's look at it objectively. Has Mane pushed on since he left Liverpool? You know, he went to Bayern. There was lots of talk from his agent about going to a club that respects him, that, you know, paid him accordingly, and it didn't work out there at all. I do feel like we didn't show him enough love at the club at times. It felt like he was second fiddle sometimes in conversations. But no, I think it was his decision. You know, I don't think the club looked to actively sell Mane, but I think he wanted a new challenge. Alex, Craig, getting fed up with the manager search. I won't say I'm getting fed up with it myself, Alex, but I'm certainly getting anxious about it. I would like some clarity as soon as possible. You know, they did say they wanted to put in a new sporting director. That's been done. Edwards is back as FSG CEO of football. And now the last piece of this jigsaw, or one of the last pieces, will be the coach. And like you, mate, I want that resolved soon. I meant 4 and press 3. Sorry, if he must. Yeah. I mean, I often think about this team and I think, could Trent play in a system where we've got 2 deeper lying midfielders and one of them is like an Endo or a McAllister that breaks up play, and then Trent is the kind of quarterback, the regista that sprays the ball around. And I've wrestled back and forth with what I think the best way to get Trent into midfield is. You know, is he going to be that player who gets box to box and arrives late with third man runs and scores from the edge of the box? Well, we know he's capable of it. Look, I want to just say I've been really impressed with Trent this season. I think he's, without doubt, stepped on another level and looks like he's a leader and confident. And look, there have been a few times where he hasn't been at his best, but more often than not, I think he's been good this season. I was actually really impressed with him last night. I thought he was one of the few people that tried to force the issue in the game. 4-4-2, Fulham, Trent, Maka, Elliott, Gakpo midfield. Who's the 2 then? Jota and Salah? I've long said to you guys, I've always liked the idea of Mo going through the middle. But the problem now is he's not as prolific in front of goal. You know, I don't know if it's a confidence thing or whatever, but he's missing chances that he would bury in years gone by. But I've never been against putting Mo through the centre. Gakpo is looking promising. Yeah, Alan, I think Gakpo has certainly shown some promising signs in recent weeks. I think you're on the money with that. You're helping me get through my back shift. Helps me get through my night. Good. Happy to help, Shanga. Happy to help. Will I still be on when the season is over? Absolutely. We don't stop, mate. We go 12 months a year. When the summer comes around, what we're going to do, actually, sorry, I can probably tell you guys this now, but before I do, let me just get this little live show graphic up. What we're going to do in the summer is we're going to follow Liverpool players in Europe, in the European Championship. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do watch-alongs. So let's say Verge is playing with the Netherlands. We'll do a watch-along on Anfield Agenda, or you know, somebody else is playing Canate with France, we'll do a watch along on Anfield Agenda. So that's what we're going to do in the summer for the Euros. We're going to just follow the Liverpool players, and then of course we'll do the semi-finals and the final. And then sure, we'll be straight into transfer talk time and talking about what a short turnaround it is from the European Championships to the season starting. So yeah, we'll be going right through, mate. I couldn't be away from you guys for that long. Are you mad? Even when I go on holidays, I miss you all. I say to the missus, like, can I just do a little something? Is Ruben Amorim staying at Sporting? We don't know, mate, but the Sporting president is trying to get him to stay. That's all we can say for sure. I don't know if it'll have any effect or not. What's this one? So Mark has just sent me this from The Athletic. Forest's appeal against the 4-point deduction for breaching the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules will be heard on Wednesday, April 24th. I'm going to stay on till 10:30, by the way, guys, so 15 more minutes. And thank you, Mark, for sending me that through as well. I just want to check my own notes on something. What's this one again? Do you know what I completely forgot about in all the furore about next season's Champions League? That we're going to get an extra 2 games in the group stage. I know it's not great for player fatigue and all, but it's going to be interesting seeing Liverpool play 8 different opponents in the group stages of the Champions League. It's going to take a bit of getting used to, of course, but it's interesting. The idea of, normally we're used to a group of 4 teams, 3 at home, 3 away, you play each team twice. This new format means we're going to play 8 group stage games against 8 different opponents, 4 of them at home, 4 of them away. It's certainly going to give us a good bit of variety. Pranav said, versus Fulham, Ali, Trent, Kwanzaa, Verge, Robbo, Endo, Maka, Elliott, Jota, Gakpo, Darwin. For me, mate, I went Ali, Trent, Kwanzaa, Verge, Robbo, Maka, Endo, Elliott. I went Jota on the right, Gakpo on the left, and Dan's through the middle. I know it's bold, I know it's a big shout, but I just can't keep... I can't keep seeing the manager rewarding players that aren't performing. Do you know what? Has anybody else been baffled at how we've become this team that used to start like a steam engine and blow teams away and, just press them into mistakes, to this team that has gone life and death with some average teams and have to rely on late comebacks this year? That's been the biggest concern throughout the season, is how slowly we've started so many games. And I know we've talked about the conceding first a lot, but just even the way we've started the games. We concede too early, said Neil. Do you think Liverpool will sign a star boy when Klopp goes? Tough to know, mate. Tough to know. I hope so. We've been loosely linked to Musiala, but, I don't know what to believe about Musiala, because Plettenberg's saying that, Bayern wanting to stay and doing everything to stay, but he also said that Nagelsmann was about to become the Bayern manager and he ends up signing for Germany, or signing an extension with Germany, so I've no idea. I'd love him at Liverpool, but I fear he may end up at Man City. Give Dan's a shot, said Alan Rice. Same, mate. I seen enough from that little 10 minutes or 11 minutes from Dan's yesterday to say, feck it, why not? We start at half pace now, said Stan. And the amount of sideways passing last night as well, because there was no options for our centre-backs or Alisson to play through the lines, was equally as infuriating as the slow starts. Midfield press and lack of defensive edge, it got cool. Klopp's no energy rubbed off on us, said Rachel. Yeah, it's been really weird, hasn't it, Rachel? Like, just, as you've said, mate, no energy levels at all from even the start of games. Is Gareth Barry the reason Alonso didn't come? I think he would have that beef more with Rafael Benitez than with Liverpool, Conrad. I'll never, as long as I live, mate, understand Rafa trying to bring Barry in and getting rid of Alonso. It didn't sit well with me then. It doesn't sit well with me now. I think... I don't know what the reason was that he stayed, but I do feel like he will become the next Real Madrid manager after one more year with Leverkusen. I reckon Amorim will pinch a Sporting player if he joins Liverpool. Well, a lot of the media commentary suggests you're probably right, Nomad. There's been talk of Diamonde, Inacio, what was that player's name again? The defensive midfielder from Denmark, Hjulmand, was that his name? Yeah, there's been links, definitely some credible links, and I know at least 2 of those 3 players have release clauses in their contracts. Can I do a live at Anfield? Do you know what really is sad about that, mate? And I don't know if you're on a wind-up or not, but I was supposed to go to the semi-final. Second leg at Anfield. That was the game I was going to this season, and now that's out the window. So I'm sure I'll get to do live stuff from Anfield soon, mate. But look, with the technology and the way we work and my lifestyle and my family situation, this is the best for me. Is Amorim staying at Sporting? Nobody knows. The whole reason for the title, mate, was again the Sporting, what was his name? Sporting president Federico Varandas wants Amorim to remain a Sporting manager next season and hopes to be able to tempt him. But look, he would say that, wouldn't he? You know, he's hardly going to want rid of a guy that's about to win them their second Portuguese league title and maybe a double. So I would fully expect that would be the stance that he'd want to take anyway. But there's been no indication to suggest that that's what Amorim is going to do. It's just, I think, maybe to appease the Sporting fans, which again I totally understand. I want Hansi Flick as an ex-manager because he isn't a yes man and he shouts at his players and isn't afraid to drop them, unlike Klopp. Yeah, I would have liked to have seen publicly a little bit more of a ruthless streak from Jurgen now. Obviously, I don't know what gets said in the dressing room, but I think this documentary is going to be interesting when it comes out. But I want somebody who'll stand up to the owners, mate, Sam, if I'm being honest with you. I want somebody who'll push back against FSG and some of their cheap ways. Should try to get to the Spurs game, second last game under Jurgen. See, Goomy, look at it this way, right? I'm putting my business head on here for a second, Goomy. My opportunity to earn revenue has decreased now down to 6 games. So if we had stayed in the Europa, it would have been 9 games. And whatever you say, match days are the days where any channel makes the majority of their revenue. So I can't afford to give up a match day now to go away, because that would only leave us with 5. And it isn't just me that I have to think about. I've got to think about Ben's salary. Connor's my business partner. So I can't. It's as simple as that. I've got to think about their livelihoods first, our business, and our community as well, like I've said before. So I can't, you know. That's another downside to us going out of Europe, is less games, less opportunities for me to get over, and less chance to make up for any lost revenue. It could end up being a panic buy for a manager. Honestly, Nick, I don't have any definitive answer here, but I do feel we will get Amorim. I do. I just... Even before Alonso announced that he was staying at Leverkusen, there was murmurings, and I have to say murmurings because, of course, I don't know this for a fact, but there was chatter that Edwards and Hughes looked, more so Edwards, I think, looked really fondly on Amorim, regardless of the Alonso situation. I think there was some talk that Richard Hughes really liked De Zerbi, but I think, without knowing this as a fact, I feel there's a lot of belief that Amorim was going to be Edwards' first choice, regardless of what happened with Alonso. So, I honestly feel like we will get Amorim, but I'm not going to say it isn't making me a bit edgy the longer it goes on. As a Spurs fan, I predict Liverpool might get destroyed because of their form. By Fulham? I don't know, mate. Don't know. No idea. But as a Spurs fan, the capitulation of English clubs in Europe this week has put a big dent in Spurs' chances of getting back into the Champions League, because now it's, and I'm not making this number up, there is a 1.1% chance that England gets that 5th Champions League spot now. It's Italy have already got theirs 100%, and Germany's 98.9% according to Opta. So yeah, it's looking like Spurs will be Europa League if they don't get 4th. What would be our team with Amorim? Which player would you like to play in which position? Would we need another defensive midfielder? And where would Salah and Dom and Nunes play? I don't see Salah being at the club next season, regardless of what happens with the manager. Where would Dom play? Probably as one of the 2 number 10s, I would suggest, in an Amorim system. Diaz, I don't know, because I don't know. Oh, you didn't mention Diaz, actually. So that Darwin, again, if he stays and the manager likes him, through the centre as the number 9. But we would have 3 centre backs, so we'd probably need to bring in 1, probably 2. A defensive midfielder, personal preferences, yes, I would like us to bring in another defensive midfielder for competition more than anything else, and so we wouldn't have to stick McAllister back into the number 6 position if Endo needed a rest. I think I'm making an educated guess that we do go back in for Inacio. If not him, maybe Diamonde, but I feel Inacio is more likely because we need somebody on the left side of a back 3. What was the rest of your question? Who would play where? I think Bradley or Trent could easily play in the wing-back role. Robbo could do it on the other side. Luke Chambers will be somebody who will come into consideration in the next season or 2. Carvalho, I'd be interested to see what the situation is there. Would a Portuguese manager want to work with a Portuguese number 10? Maybe. There's a lot that is just guesswork, to be honest with you, at the moment, because we don't know. I don't know what Ruben Amorim thinks when he looks at the Liverpool squad. Who do you think should be our number 9? Jota. At the minute, Jota. Gakpo, I'd love to see him just given a chance on the left. Just, to see what he's like in his favourite position, to see if it does help with his confidence. So yeah, Jota for me through the centre. Why don't you like De Zerbi? Again, I don't think I've ever said I don't like De Zerbi. I think he doesn't strike me as a Liverpool coach. I've always thought he's more fitting to Manchester City or Barcelona. The journalists seem to think it might be too much of a risk because of the way he plays. Nobody will deny that he's not an incredibly innovative, highly tactical, very well-versed coach. I've nothing but respect for De Zerbi in that regard. But from what I've read about those at the club, they feel like it's almost too much of a risk. And I don't think Liverpool are alone in that fear for De Zerbi. But I do think he will go to a big club and he will do a good job. But I think the fall off from Brighton this season probably just came at the wrong time for him to be considered. Like if Brighton had been up there in 5th or 6th and looking like they did last year, and I know they lost a lot of players and have had injuries, but I wonder if that's just taken some of the shine off. Right, my friends, I'm going to say goodnight and go and spend some time with the missus, and I will see you guys tomorrow at 8:30. Who knows, maybe Wolves can get some points off Arsenal. Don't forget, tickets are on sale now for the live shows in Dublin and Belfast. You can scan the QR code on the screen or use the link in the description. One thing I can also confirm is we did exchange contracts today on the Cardiff show. So that show will be happening 100% August the 2nd at the Richard Burton Theatre in Cardiff. An all-ages event. We'll sell those tickets from next month onwards. And yeah, have a good one. Thank you for tonight. It's really been great to talk through everything with you guys. And fingers crossed we get a good result on Sunday. Have a good one. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.